Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial. In this one I want to talk about renders. Yeah, so I've been posting quite a number of renders on my social media pages, and I've been getting questions of how I get to achieve my renders. Okay, so I thought maybe I should do a tutorial about this. I won't go much into um, uh, showing you how I actually do my actual renders in a 3D app. I want to give you some basic uh, knowledge about renders and what you can do to improve them. Okay, so to start with, um, you need to understand something about renders. Okay, so rendering is digital photography. Okay, so if you're doing your rendering in any 3D app like Blender, Maya, or Cinema 4D, you obviously know about the digital camera that is inside that application. Okay, so that uh, camera in that application is just an illustration of how the physical camera or the camera in the real world actually works. In some software, the cameras are a bit limited, but in some they are so vast, so advanced, like they actually imitate the real camera. So you're going to find things like ISO, shutter speed, and a lot of camera settings um, are already in the software. So that gives you unlimited freedom to do a lot of creative stuff with the camera. Okay, if you're using Blender, I would recommend an add-on called Photographer. It's a very good and powerful add-on. It has got some unique features, so consider grabbing that add-on. Okay, so going back to rendering, since rendering is digital photography, you need to understand how uh, things like light works, or how the camera, or how shots actually taken in photography. You need to know how those things are done, and I would recommend you learn the basics of, uh, of photography. Now, there's a lot of free content here on YouTube or even on Google that talk about how photography is done. You know, you get to learn about the settings, you get to learn the essentials, the fundamentals of photography. These elements are what are going to improve your renders. Okay, so you should consider taking up some photography courses or even online tutorials. Okay, so having said that, leads me to my second point, yeah, which is the form or the design. I believe if the design is good, the render will be good. If the design is bad, the render will also look bad. That's what I believe in. So when you're doing your modeling in 3D applications, always aim to get the best model that you can. You know, these small fundamental concepts of like beveling the edges or smoothing the edges, subdividing the edges. You know, these are things that help improve your renders. You know, they help your model stand out from uh, from the background and things like that. Okay, so let me try to bring up a render. I think I have a render here. Yeah, so this is one of the renders I did, I think, not too long ago. not too long ago. Yeah. So if you look at this whole design, this design and the background, this isn't so much contrast, so to say. um what I mean is that I'm talking about the color. Okay, this is all gray. It's all gray in color. Everything is gray in here. But what makes the model look so different, like from the background, that these things like the beveling of the edges, these bevels enable this model to have some highlights, to catch some reflections from different points. As a result, they actually create contrast between this object and the background. Okay, so always strive to get the best form or model from whatever you are doing. You know, always remember to smooth your edges. It's very important. I'm going to talk about reflections in just a few moments, and I think I'll emphasize a lot about things like beveling. Okay, so always aim to get the best form of your design. um this point leads us back to our first point about photography. Your light. Photo means light. So if you're going to do renders, you need to get your lighting good. Okay, your lighting must be better. If your lighting is good, it guarantees almost, let me say, 80 or 90%, let me say 80%, that your render is going to look good, because your lighting is good. Your lighting is what is going to control your reflections. Your lighting is what is going to control your shadows. Okay, also your lighting is what tends to separate a beginner from a professional. Because if you look at professional lighting, this person or the professional actually understand how uh, the light works. I think let me bring back the same model. Yeah. So if you understand your lighting very well, it will be very easy for you to know how light gets to interact with your scene, or the objects in your scene. Okay, like for instance, from the view or this object, we know that our lighting is coming from that direction. Okay, and as it hits this object, see what happens to the shadows. These shadows are more like fading from the bottom to, you know, this gives your render some form of believability. I don't know if the word ever exists. Yeah, it actually creates that kind of realism, because this is what you would expect from real light. You wouldn't want to have a shadow that is all black. That would look so much unprofessional. you know Not really unprofessional. There are cases where you would want that, just depending on what you're going for. But if you're going for realism, okay, so if you're going for realism, definitely you would want to have such kinds of shadows. Okay, so make sure to get to learn about lighting, especially through photography. You get to learn how lighting gets to interact. You get to learn things like global illumination. You're going to learn things about like SSGI, which is screen-based global illumination. You get to know how real-time lighting works. You know how physical-based lighting works. So understanding the uh, the, the fundamentals of lighting can help you create better renders. Okay. The second thing is the materials that you're using. What kind of materials are you using? Are you just using any kind of materials, or maybe you are using physic physical based PBR material? Okay, PBR material is somewhat the best, I would say. It's the best for scenes, and also it depends with how you're going to use these materials. You know, you wouldn't want to use like very high detailed uh, texture maps for, let's say, a shot that is so far away from the camera, or maybe it is uh, not even going to be, it's going to be blurred out by the camera due to the depth of field. You don't want to use so high detailed textures. Okay, but for close-up shots, for close-up still shots, it is highly recommendable that you use good quality PBR texture materials. They will help you improve your renders. Okay, the other thing is reflections. Reflections. You need to know how reflections work. You know, you need to understand things like roughness in the material, the glossiness of the material. So you know which material is supposed to be specular, you know which material is supposed to have a higher roughness, which material is supposed to have a less roughness. Things like glass have no roughness at all, have the roughness like one or so, you know. Okay, let me bring up another render. Let me see if I can bring up another render that can show you what I'm talking about. Oh, we can use the same example, but I'll choose a different view. I think. Yeah, I think I'll use the same model but in different view. Yeah. So talking about reflections, if you look at this model, this top, this lead has got a reflection to it. It's got a reflection to it, but the reflection roughness of this material is not so high. It has got a high roughness. It's got a high roughness, and as a result, you can see it's not so shiny. But if I wanted to go for that glass look, I would have just lowered my roughness, and then it would have also shiny. But I was going for something that looks like plasticky, and yeah, so I figured this would have been the best. This would have been the best kind of material to use. Okay, so reflections play a very important role when it comes to rendering. They help you create a contrast between the shiny objects and the non-shiny objects, the rough objects and the less rough objects. Okay, so you should consider studying how reflections actually work in real life, for you to get uh, better render results. Okay. Shadows, I think shadows, they touch them on lighting. Okay, but you should know when you need to have hard shadows, when you need to have soft shadows, and this happens when you know how your lighting is behaving, whether the sun is, or maybe let's say the lighting is overhead, or maybe it's directional or at an angle. Depending on the angle at which the light is at, will will determine how your shadows will actually look like. Okay, the other thing is composition. Okay, composition is very important when it comes to renders. This time I want to use that same example I'm going to use another one, I think. Yes, I'm going to use another one. Okay, okay, so I'm going to use this one. Bring this a little bit down so you can see it properly. Yeah, so if you look at this shot that I did, if you look at this shot, I framed these models, like I think almost on my a third part of my shot. They're not centered, so to say. Okay, so things like composition will help you distinguish where you want the viewer to focus on. Okay, it will help you choose a point that you want your audience should see. Okay, so if you talk of things like threads, okay, I think I will have to draw this. Okay, okay. Can I write this? Let me just create a device on top. Okay, okay, okay. I've got the brush there. Just a moment. This one. Yeah. So things like composition, you're going to have you have your, let's say this is your frame. Okay, this is your frame, this is your image, and you've got things like fades in most of the 3D applications. So I have got this composition guide. You've got the fades like that, and these are the ones that I use the most. I use this a lot. Okay, fades. Yeah, so you can choose where you want to frame your object, whether you want your objects to be framed there, or maybe you want them to be framed there or there. It just depends with what you want. There's the golden ratio. I don't use it that much. I usually use I think golden ratio should almost be the same as this, using this point, but it's just another composition, but I don't use it much. I usually use these states, for most of my renders. So these help you create a focus point where you want your viewer to see. If you want your viewer to look at that point, they really help out. So if you look at this render, by creating this point, I had left the other side empty, and by leaving this part empty, it made the viewer focus so much on this side. It's just muscle memory. That's how the eyes work. Okay, so you must consider learning composition, and you would learn composition mostly through photography. So lighting through photography, image shadows through photography. Yeah. Okay, so I think the last thing that I would talk about is learn how to edit. Learn how to edit or work after post processing. Learn how to edit. Learn software like Lightroom. Learn software like Photoshop. Software like new collection, which is an add-on. I'm not so much competent with other editing softwares. I'm good with Lightroom and Photoshop. Okay, so after your renders are done, you need to bring them into editing. Sometimes you may get your lighting maybe as dark lighting, and then you wish to improve the lighting. You take it for editing. So editing is more like developing. It's what we used to call as developing long time ago, when you need a photo with a film. Yeah, you've got a camera which has got a film, and then you get a photo. You have to develop that film. you have the actual photo and have a negative. That is what is happening in editing. You have to develop the photo. You have to develop the photo. Always do this to renders. You get to bring in some effects, change the lighting, things like that. Yeah. And this is what I usually do for my most of my renders. Most of my renders. And from my examples like this short, it's it's all edited. It's all edited. Let me try to bring up uh, a raw render of that mobile if I can find it. Yeah, if I can find it. Yeah. So this is my raw render. This is my raw render. This is the one I had. Then I took it for editing. I changed the lighting. I improved everything. So just look at the difference. There's a whole lot of difference. I made it pop out from the background, the load from the editing. Yeah. So you should also consider learning how to edit photos, how to produce your renders. Okay. Yeah. So I think this is the basics. The next time I will do a full tutorial of texturing, rendering, and post processing of the actual render. It will all entirely depend. You can put in a suggestion whether you should do it in Blender or in Cinema 4D or in 3ds Max. Yeah, you can just leave it in the comment and then I'll definitely look at it. Okay guys, thank you so much for